Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Williamson County Sports Connection. I'm Jack Daniels, your host, and with me for today's show is the head wrestling coach at Brentwood High School, Coach Joe Blair. Coach, welcome.
Thank you.
Now, it's been a while since you've been on the show, so let's kind of just backtrack and start with you about where you grew up and where you went to school, and tell everybody just kind of what you've been doing over the last few years.
Okay. Well, I'm originally from Cleveland, Tennessee. I went to Cleveland High School, went to college at Tennessee Tech University, and came to Brentwood High School via doing my student teaching through Tennessee Tech there. And then Brentwood High hired me the next year to be a math teacher and assistant wrestling coach. The head wrestling coach at the time was G.P. West, who's a member of the National Wrestling Hall of Fame and legend among coaches in the state of Tennessee. And he is a huge reason why I am at Brentwood.
Mm-hmm.
He was getting close to retirement and was definitely looking for somebody with a wrestling background to come in and take over the program. And I knew him from some prior experiences in wrestling. So I've been at Brentwood ever since. It's my 17th year at Brentwood High School. So.
Now, I know you wrestled at Cleveland High School.
Yes.
But did Tennessee Tech, did they have club wrestling? Or?
We had like intramural,
That
some club stuff. Yeah, they didn't have a collegiate program at the time. They had it back in the early 80s and then dropped it. And so I didn't really actually do a lot of college wrestling, but have been around the sport since I was in the third grade. So I know it pretty well.
Yeah. Now, how long was you an assistant for Coach West?
I was an assistant for Coach West for 2 years, and then he retired at the start of my third year, and they hired me as head coach.
Now, you guys have have a privilege of boosters coming in and helping and building you a special place for you guys to practice. What year did that actually get built for you?
I think that our wrestling room was completed the year before I came to Brentwood. I think it was finished in '96.
Okay.
And it was literally all generated by parents and sponsors raising the money to build the room. We were very fortunate in that whole process. It's a great facility. It's nice to be able to have a place to have your mats down all the time and not have to roll them up and store them someplace and whatever. So, we're pretty fortunate by that.
Well, let's talk a little bit about who's helping you this year. Who's some of your assistant coaches?
The faculty assistant coach that I have this year is Stephen Slowey. He's a former Brentwood alumni and has been teaching and coaching. He's also assistant coaches of football. He's been helping me for a couple years now. I have a couple of volunteers that come in. Kellen Hallman's a former state champion from Brentwood High School, is still living in the area, and he still comes in and helps out with the middle school and the high school. And then I have a dad, a future Bruin dad, John Feldhacker, who wrestled for UTC in college in the mid '80s, and lives in the area, has a son that's in the middle school, and John's been coming in just on a volunteer basis whenever he can to help out, show some guys some things, and has been very beneficial for some of the guys in the program.
Now, as far as talking about this year's team and some other people and some other things, just kind of back up, Coach, and just kind of give us a recap of last year's season and kind of how you guys did and who ended up winning, the state duels and the individual state tournament.
Well, the first half of last season we did really well. We started off great. We finished third at the Clarksville Slam Fest. We actually lost a very tough match to Franklin in the semifinals on criteria. It was a good, close, hard-fought match, and finished third in the tournament. Went into Christmas break with the McCauley Invitational, which is one of the toughest tournaments in the state, individual-wise, and then came out of Christmas. I don't know if we just came out on a flat note or whatever, but at the same time, we're in a very competitive district here. I mean, Williamson County, I would put our district, just competition-wise, we're probably the most competitive in the state. The teams are very good, they're very evenly matched, and if you don't get the right things to fall your way, then in this district, there's not a big gap between 2nd and 5th in this district, and we just between injuries and whatnot, we just couldn't put together our district tournament or district matches, and just came out. I think we finished either 4th or 5th last year in the district. So we missed out there after having such a good start. That was kind of a letdown.
Mm-hmm.
But we did finish up the individual season pretty well. We had 2 state medalists. Luke Hamilton was a sophomore last year. He finished 3rd. And Cliff Terrell was a senior last year, and he placed 5th. And Cliff is now a freshman at Cumberland University in Lebanon this fall, and he's wrestling for them now. So.
Okay. So who won the duels last year?
State duels was won by Cleveland High School, and they also won the individual tournament as well. They have a really strong program right now.
Did you feel a little pride back in
that? I can't say I feel bad about them winning. Anytime they do well, I feel good about that, just because, I grew up in that whole atmosphere. I was just a little kid watching Cleveland wrestling matches and going. And I wrestled there. My brother wrestled there. My parents still are supporters of the high school. So, when Cleveland does well, it doesn't. I can handle that. It doesn't bother me.
That was Coach Miller, your coach?
Coach Miller was my coach, yeah. And his son is actually the new head wrestling coach at Summit High School, Pete. Mm-hmm. And Pete's a very good coach. He's going to do a great job there.
Okay. So you said the Slam Fest, was that a dual tournament? Or was that
It was a dual tournament, yeah.
And that was in Clarksville?
In Clarksville High School,
They do that every year, kind of up that way?
They do, yeah.
Are you guys heading back up there this year?
As of right now, yeah, we're still scheduled to go there. I'm kind of going back and forth on that because we got our schedule that week we have a lot of matches that week, so I think we're still going there.
Okay. Now you talked about the district. I know there's a realignment that took place.
Yeah.
And so we kind of got new people, especially like in the football and all that kind of stuff. But what did that do to the wrestling districts in our area?
Well, it didn't really affect our district that much because the districts, as far as wrestling goes, dual meet wise, the classifications were already split into a AA and then AAA. So our district dual really hasn't changed. What the change happened was now they've taken the individual this year and have divided it into a AAA and AA as well. So basically, it took our individual region and reduced the size of the teams in our individual region quite a bit because a lot of the small schools that were there are now in their own AA individual region. Mm-hmm. So now our individual region is all of Williamson County except for Page. They're one of the smaller schools, and all of the AAA metro schools. Mm-hmm. So we now have I think it's 15 teams in our region, down from, I believe we were at 24 last year.
Okay. Is Fairview in the same region as Page?
I think now they are.
I
think they were not in the same region individually last year. Mm-hmm. Dual meet, I think they were. Okay. And I think now Page is all together with Fairview.
Well, let's talk a little bit about that. I was at the soccer tournament a few days ago and got an opportunity to talk to Mark Reeves, guy that you work real close with.
Mark well.
When it comes to the tournament time, because we've been fortunate, I guess, to host the tournaments for probably the last 4 years, maybe.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
And of course, Mark and I were talking about traffic that we could. Problems that we may meet. As a matter of fact, I've been working on some directions to give to him about alternate routes that people may be able to get into the Ag Building without getting on the 65 corridor there. So, but how, as far as time-wise, is it splitting to AA individual and AAA? Is that going to make the tournament a little bit longer? Going to start? Have you talked about that?
Yeah, we did that when I'm on the TACA Wrestling Coaches Council for Tennessee, and when this was all being discussed with the reclassification, scheduling was a big thing because putting on a state tournament, you have officials coming from all over the state. They're having to take time off of work to officiate the state tournament, and it's a Thursday, Friday, Saturday commitment for them. You also have volunteers doing the same thing, taking off work, taking off school, whatever, to come in and work the tournament. So time spent involved in the tournament is a huge issue. And so looking at the schedule and breaking it down, how do we make this all happen? Floor space is not an issue because the Ag Center has so much. We can put down, I think now we're going to actually be using 12 mats for the state tournament.
Had you been using 10 before?
We've been using 11, so I
11?
think we're going to
Okay.
try to bring in a 12th mat just to make sure and help out. And I think what it's going to do is it's probably going to add maybe about 2 hours of competition to the overall tournament, because one of the good things as far as scheduling wise is that the change is Division II is going from a 16-man bracket down to an 8-man bracket.
Oh, okay.
So that will make that tournament smaller and a little bit more manageable
Mm-hmm.
as far as running it, which will help us kind of fill in that gap that now we're adding the AAA tournament, which is a 12-man bracket. And there's also still the Girls Invitational Tournament. So there's really 4 tournaments going on at once over that 3-day span.
Let's talk a little bit about the girls tournament. Well, I know, it's kind of growing a little bit, but have you seen as much growth as you thought you might have seen in that?
Personally, no, I haven't seen the growth. It's been, and as far as now, I don't know exact numbers. I think it's kind of leveled off the past 2 or 3 years. I knew it was up for becoming a sanctioned sport with TSSAA this past year, and I think they decided to hold off on sanctioning it because I don't think they've seen the growth that they want to see yet either. They still are going to do the invitational tournament for the girls. I know Ravenwood has had some female wrestlers. I know Independence has had some female wrestlers. So it's in our area. I don't think it's as big as they have wanted it to become yet. Like in Texas, they have a full girls season with a girls sanctioned state tournament, and it's a big deal there. And there's states that are like that as well. But it's kind of like hot pockets here and there. That Hawaii has girls wrestling, and it's pretty big out there. But I don't think it's taken off the way that they've wanted it to take off yet.
So you haven't had a female wrestler yet?
We have not since they have begun the actual trying to get girls strictly wrestling girls and boys strictly wrestling boys. I have had one female wrestler in our past, but it was before they separated everything. Yeah.
And I can remember some female wrestlers back during that time, and a lot of those were maybe in the lower weights, like at the. I don't even know where it starts at now. It used to be like at 98. Do they still have a 98?
I honestly couldn't tell you the girls' weight classes.
Yeah.
I'm not sure, but I think 105 may be the smallest one. I'm not sure.
Okay. Is that what it is with the boys now? Because I know the weight
106 is the boys' starting weight now.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, it used to be 98 though.
There was a
long
98,
time.
yeah.
I mean, that's going way back now. That's when Chris
throw
and I were
years on
together
you.
with Halls High
Yeah.
School way back there. It was. Of course, that's been a long time
Well,
ago.
we won't talk about it.
I still get emails from Chris all the time.
Yeah.
He's very active in the
He is.
in the alumni club there at Halls in their wrestling program, and he was one of the great advocates for high school wrestling in the state of Tennessee. So let's talk a little bit about, I guess, your team this year then, and talk about how many seniors you have on. Kind of give us some, names and numbers and weights and that kind of stuff.
Well, my seniors this year, as far as who I'm going to have, is still kind of up in the air because I'm kind of waiting to see who's going to be coming in from football still. I have a couple of seniors that have already spoken to me. They're still dealing with injuries from football season, and they're not quite sure if they're going to be able to recover completely to actually do wrestling. So I'm thinking right now I'm going to have about 4 seniors. Dimitri Searle is one who really stands out because he's a non-football player. He's probably one of our hardest workers as far as in the weight room, as far as just a dedicated, focused. I mean, he's a driven individual, and he'll be one of our main seniors that we go to this year. Tanner Holloman is another one of our seniors that is a football player. He's a returning state qualifier for us. And we're expecting big things out of him. Paul Hunt is our heavyweight, who missed last season because of an injury suffered to his knee during football season. So he wasn't able to wrestle all last season. He's coming back as a heavyweight this year. We're really excited about having him back, and he's excited to get out there too. I think he really missed not being able to be out there last year. Luke Hamilton's a junior and returning state medalist. And technically he's probably our best wrestler. He is, he's almost the total package when it comes to what you can do on the mat. Chip Brothers is a region champion who's a junior. He'll be he'll probably anchor our lightweights And Chip's a really strong kid, and he really gets after you on the mat, and he'll probably be around 126 or so, weight-wise. Luke will probably be around 145, 152, 145 in that range. Dimitri will be around 170, I think. Tanner's probably going to be about 195, and Paul at heavyweight. So those are going to be really our main go-to guys lineup-wise this year.
When you talked about some kids got medals last year, so do you have any of those kids? How many kids you have coming back that were medalists in the individual tournament, did you say?
Right now, Luke's the only returning medalist that we have. We have a couple of other returning state qualifiers. Luke's the only returning state medalist right now.
And as you get, I guess, some more into the season part of it, the region with it's kind of shaping up a little bit different. Do they take the top 4 out of your region, move them on to the state individual?
Correct, yeah. We take the top 4 medalists of each weight class qualify for the state tournament. AAA state tournament's a 32-man bracket.
32-man bracket still. And usually that kind of starts like on Thursday, usually around 3 o'clock in the afternoon, or is that kind of...
For the region tournament?
No, I'm talking about for the state tournament. At the state tournament,
yeah. It'll probably, I think this year it's going to be closer to like a 1 o'clock start time on Thursday this year, just because of the change with the AAA and adding that, trying to create some more time to get all the tournaments in.
And all day on Friday.
All day on Friday and just about all day on Saturday, yeah.
As far as, we know Chattanooga is very strong in this, and this is where you kind of grew up in that area in Cleveland. And predominantly, they've kind of been winning individual and, I guess, the duels whenever we started those duels. What, do you know, when's the last time we've had somebody outside of the East Tennessee area win an individual state as a team?
Overton did it in 1997.
Okay.
They won the individual state tournament. Clarksville has also won the individual state tournament. I think they won theirs in. No, I take that back. They won the dual tournament. I don't think they won the individual. Franklin's had good teams. Beach High School actually was kind of a surprise last year, and they finished runner-up in the state tournament and had a really good run last year. Wilson Central's also put together a really good team where they're in that. They're not quite at that state championship level yet, but they're getting pretty close.
Who do you see outside the East is going to be the biggest challenger, have the best opportunity from the Middle or West area to kind of go up against those guys this year?
Well, it's looking like Beach and Wilson Central right now are probably going to be the two with the best chances.
They got a lot of kids coming back from.
They do, and they have pretty big numbers right now too. So they're set up pretty well to make a run. I don't know if they can, because Bradley had a down year last year, and that's a Southeast Tennessee team. But I think they're going to be better this year than they were last year. Sidey Daisy's going to be better than they were last year too. They lost some key guys right there at the end of the season that they weren't expecting on losing, and that kind of hurt them. But I think they're in a position to bounce back. So the same big heads that have been there all along are still going to be there. But there are some teams that are working their way to get into that competitive range. Ravenwood, I think, is going to be able to get in the mix this year too with those guys. They're going to have some good kids coming in. They have big numbers, and so that helps. It just helps having bodies to move in and out of your lineup.
Well, let's talk a little bit about Coach West and the GP West tournament.
Yeah.
Kind of give us an idea when that is coming about this year, and some of the teams maybe that you've already invited that you know are going to be coming to that tournament. It's
going to be January 10th and 11th. You usually have it that second weekend in January, depending on how the calendar falls. It's historically that Coach West began the tournament, I believe, when he was, I got to go back, at Hillwood High School, I think, back when he was coaching in Metro. And as he went from school to school, it kind of followed him throughout the years. And then it's been at Brentwood ever since he came, which I think he came in 1988, was his first year at Brentwood. And it's right up there as one of the toughest individual tournaments in the state, competition-wise. This year I've changed the format a little bit. We used to it would really be 3 tournaments at once because we'd have a freshman, JV, and varsity division. This year I'm only going to go with the varsity tournament.
Okay.
For a couple of reasons. Seating wise, we've got new bleachers in our gym. I just can't handle the seating capacity. Our Campbell Center is kind of not really, we've used it in the past for the part of the tournament, and we've had to reconfigure things in there, so I just don't feel comfortable about using the Campbell Center. So our building's just not allowing us to run it the way we've run it in the past. So we're just going to do varsity this year, just focus on having top competition, a good 2-day tournament. Christian Brothers High School is going to be there. They're the returning Division II state champions.
Out of Kentucky?
No, out of
when
Memphis.
You said Christian Brothers, I was thinking of there is a Christian county up in Kentucky.
This is Christian Brothers High School out of Memphis.
Okay.
Yeah. And but the Kentucky team you're thinking of is Union County. Is one of the perennial powers out of Kentucky, state champion powers. Cleveland High School is also going to be there. So we're going to have 2 returning team champions from the state of Tennessee competing, going head-to-head in this tournament, along with Ravenwood and Franklin. They always have good wrestlers coming in as well. So it's going to be it's a tough tournament. It's a big test.
I remember years ago when I was back at Brentwood, there used to be a team out of Indiana used to come down all the
Mater Dei.
Mater Dei.
Yeah, Mater Dei High School. They haven't been in the past couple of years, but they're definitely a good team.
Yeah, they were always seemed like in the finals on the championship day. They had a lot of kids in there going at it. We talked a little bit about changing how the state's going to be the format. You think you're going to like that concept?
I think so. I don't know. We'll see. I know there was a lot of debate about splitting the individual, and the debate was it's an individual. It's not like a team thing. This is to see who's the best kid. So there's a lot of talk about that, and I think there's a lot of fear in the eyes of the AAA coaches where we fought so hard to get our tournament set the way it is, where it's a 32-man double elimination bracket, and it took a long time to get to that point, many years of arguing and fighting and debating and trying to get TSSAA to go along with that. And with this change in format, does that mean we have to decrease our tournament? Are we losing qualifiers? Is it going to be double elimination? Are we losing that as well?
Right.
So I think there's a lot of trepidation about what's actually is this going to mean for what we've already fought to earn. And as it is right now, nothing's really changed in the eyes of the AAA schools, so I think they feel better about, okay, we still have a 32-man double elimination tournament. We still get our 4 qualifiers per region, so that's okay. Now we're going to see, obviously, how it goes this first year. There could be changes. It could go fine. We'll just have to wait and see. I think it will help the Division the AAA schools kind of build up their strengths. Hopefully, it's going to encourage smaller schools who haven't had wrestling in the past to hopefully start a program.
Sure.
Because now they see that they have more of a level playing field where they're not having to compete with a school that's got 1,900 kids. They've only got 500 to draw from. Maybe they have a little bit of a better playing field. So hopefully that's going to be what happens. We'll see.
Coach, let's talk a little bit about Wrestling 101. You got a kid who is a beginner, has never done anything with it. What would be some of the very first things in which, as a coach, you would be giving instruction to this kid about?
Probably the first thing I'm going to focus on is how to protect yourself, how to avoid giving up the big points, getting put on your back. How to teach them how to be safe. Like how do I, if I get scored on, how do I safely get in a position where I can hopefully stand up, get away, and get back to my feet? Obviously the big thing is stay off your back. Teaching the kid how to stay off his back, because this is the sport where, in other sports like in football, I think the learning curve probably isn't as big from a beginner to a skilled player, because you have other people to kind of be out there in the field and back you up. Whereas in wrestling, the learning curve between a beginner and an experienced wrestler is huge, because it's just you versus him. And if he's got 5 or 6 years of experience, and this is your first day, there's going to be a definite difference there. And so just teaching almost survival skills is probably the best thing I would focus on. How do you protect yourself if he tries to get a takedown on you? How are you going to defend that? And how are you going to defend yourself if you're on bottom, or what are you going to do if you're on top to not get in trouble. There's a long list of beginner mistakes that we have that we really focus on. Don't do this, don't do that, and just, you know, it's survival that first year. It's tough. It takes a unique athlete to come in and have never done it before and be able to successfully go through the season and have a winning record. It's tough.
So what age should a kid start, or should a parent start with their kids if they wanted to be, you know, what's that right age?
It depends. It honestly depends on the kid. There's kids that start in kindergarten. I started in the 3rd grade. But then there's kids who started in middle school and are now wrestling in college, you know, and it's just because they were naturally there. They just weren't introduced to it early on. We had Cameron Croy, who's probably the best kid we've ever had come through our school, is a senior team captain this year at Harvard University, and he started in kindergarten. But he also had the mindset. He knew when to back off and not get burned out, because that's really the thing you worry about is they start so early and eventually they might get tired of it. They might get burned out. They don't want to do it anymore. So it takes a unique kid to kind of say, okay, I need to back off and just take a little break before I lose interest in this.
Now, what opportunities outside of a high school or middle school program do kids have to wrestle in our community?
There are a couple of different clubs that are available in the community. I know there's one that's out of the Franklin area, Wasbo is the name of that club. I think they do a lot of their practices at Franklin High School. A Nashville Wrestling club they use our room along with a couple of other rooms. I think they go up to NBA and use their room some nights, just to be able to reach out and open up opportunities, because it is tough. We have some restrictions about what we can do with the kids in the off season, what we can do. So, you know, trying to get clubs going. I think Nolensville is trying to get a club going now in the Nolensville area and using Sunset Middle. I think that's going to be happening. If it hasn't already begun, I think it's going to be happening this year. So they're popping up. You just kind of have to contact your school and say, hey, where can I get wrestling and my son involved in wrestling outside of the season, or now if they're in elementary school or whatever. There's opportunities.
Right. Well, Coach, thanks for joining us today, and best of luck to you this year in your program. And I know wrestling's one of those sports, it's tough to stay healthy all the season through, but we wish you the best in that.
Well, I appreciate it. Thank you very much.
Thank you for joining us for this segment of the Williamson County Sports Connection. I'm Jack Daniels, your host.
What a great way to get some exercise and spend time with your family. Hi, I'm Steve Hayslip.
And I'm his son, Paul Hayslip.
And today we're going to show you some rules of the road that you may not have thought about that apply to bike riders. Let's go. That's good. Good pace. On narrow roads like this, cyclists should leave at least 2 car lengths in between riders. That way the cars have room to get in between the cyclists and pass them individually. You take the lead. Stay to the right. When approaching a stop sign or a traffic light, if a car and cycle are arriving at the same time, the car needs to stay back just a bit, allowing the cyclist room to move in front into the turn lane. This allows the cyclist to turn left safely. If the lane is too narrow, or if the cyclists are traveling pretty much the same speed as traffic, then the cyclists have the right to come out and take the lane.
Just remember that everyone has a right to the roadway. It is a public road, but everyone has to observe the rules of the road. They apply to the motorists and the bicyclists alike.
Well, those are just some of the rules. Mainly, stay safe and have fun. And most of all,
Enjoy the ride.